to kind of put a bow on McCaffrey's afternoon, 22 carries, 152 yards, and a touchdown, including the playoffs now. McCaffrey has scored one or more touchdowns in 10 consecutive games, which is the longest streak of any active NFL player. And it ties the second longest streak by a member of the 49ers going back to Freddie Solomon in 84, who put 10 games of I scored a touchdown together in a row, including a postseason game. Christian McCaffrey is all day and all night long special. He is maybe the most uniquely, singularly special player on a team that is built upon the backs of special players. He is extraordinary. He is absolutely extraordinary. And there wasn't a moment where I was watching him last year where I couldn't help but almost be down on myself for not understanding how good he really was. Let's face it, beyond highlights, we don't get a lot of Carolina Panthers football out here, so you didn't really see how good he was on the plays that were only 4 or 5 yard gains. And you saw him push piles. And, the stuff that doesn't make the highlight reel is another example of why Christian McCaffrey is so good at what he does. Yes, there's the 65-yard touchdown run with the great downfield blocking in front of him. But there's also the, he got clipped in that backfield a little and he still got 6 yards out of that. I mean, he still got 5 yards out of that. He turned nothing into 3 yards. He's always falling forward unless he just straight up gets, bullied and stuck behind the line of scrimmage, which happened a couple times yesterday. But
the Niners, Damon, are 13-1 since they acquired Christian McCaffrey. 13-1.
Feels like there's a little correlation there, right?
Seriously. But man, maybe the Niners, even though a lot of us would sit there and think about 2017's draft and say, Solomon Thomas, you should have gotten Mahomes. I really think many of those years when Solly was kind of just showing that he was a try-hard backup, I think John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan, when they were looking back at that draft going, we should have taken Christian McCaffrey.
What do we do?
He went 8th, I think, to Carolina. They had the 3rd pick. They because they wanted to wait on Cousins. Heck, according to the Mike Shanahan, they offered that pick to the Commanders for Cousins, except the Commanders, Dan Schneider didn't want to deal with him at the time.
Right.
But looking back on it, I mean, Christian McCaffrey was the perfect addition. The Niners have screwed up some of the high draft picks for sure. Where John Lynch has been really good in this regime are the in-season trades. Emmanuel Sanders, Christian McCaffrey, Jordan Willis, Charles Omenihu. In season, they do a real good job at identifying pieces that they need that fit their puzzle, and then pulling the trigger and getting McCaffrey. It's funny too. I did an interview with a Niner beat writer one day before the trade deadline last year, and I said to him, hey, what do you think of the Niners trading for Christian McCaffrey? He's like, nah. And I said, why? He goes, they don't need him. I'm like, at the time, I'm like, well, yeah, they don't. What do you mean they don't need him? Well, they got Jeff Wilson, and they've got Raheem Mostert. They don't need McCaffrey.
Elijah Mitchell.
Yeah, they got Elijah Mitchell. They don't need him. And, credit John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan. Because let's be honest, Damon, you think of all the great Super Bowl teams, almost without fail, they all have really special people who handle the football. Chiefs right now, Mahomes, Kelsey, Tyreek before that. The Patriots all those years. You can say what you want. Tom Brady, Edelman, Gronk. Go back to the Cowboys. What made the Cowboys in the 90s? Emmett, Michael, Aikman, Novacek. What made Steve Young's Niners the last Super Bowl champion? Bar none. Waters, Jones, Rice, Taylor, Young. When the Niners won with Montana, take out Waters, take out Floyd, put in Roger, put in Rathman. Basically, it's the same receiving crew. You need to have, Peyton Manning won in Indy. He had Harrison and Wayne and Edgerrin and Dallas Clark. The guys who handle the football, you want to change your football team, change the guys who touch the ball, and you will have that's the fastest way to turn your team around. And the Niners didn't need McCaffrey, Damon, but you know what? John Lynch is like, you know what? He's a difference maker. Shanahan said he's a difference maker. They worked out the trade. They're 13-1 since.
My buddy John Clark in college used to have a Ricky Waters jersey, and he used to put it on and do a Ricky Waters impression. He'd run around and going, I only need the ball 35 times to be effective.
Ricky Waters is one of my favorite guys now because I got a chance to meet him through Dennis Brown, who's one of Ricky's good buddies, and he came out to the fourth bore with us out in Orinda. We were doing the post game the last couple of years, and we were sitting there one night, having a couple drinks and talking Niner ball after one of the post games. Ricky Waters is one of the most cool, chill, down-to-earth guys.
Yeah, I met him.
He's awesome, man.
I met him in a cocktail setting once too, and had a great time talking to Ricky Waters.
Yeah,
I only need the ball 35 times to be effective.
He's incredible. Guy's incredible, and he was. I mean, think about it. In a lot of ways, what was the Niners won with Mike Shanahan? That was the last time they won. Mike Shanahan was the OC. Mm-hmm. What did they have? They had a great number one receiver in Jerry Rice. They had an awesome receiving running back in Ricky Waters. What do they got now? They got an awesome number one receiver in Brandon Ayuk. They got an awesome number one running back who's more of a receiving threat in CMC. So, yeah, the only thing I would have said about CMC I didn't like yesterday is I would like to see CMC's touches brought down to 10. I mean, he had 25 touches. Where the next Niner, I think, who had 8, and I'd like to see J.P. Mason. I'd like to see Elijah Mitchell. I'd like to see Debo run it a few more times. I'd like to diversify the carries a little bit.
There's going to be times where Christian McCaffrey needs more than 22 carries. Those are going to be football games that are fourth quarter football games. This wasn't a football game in the fourth quarter. He shouldn't have had a single touch. Like I just said, somebody needs to go and just grab his helmet. And, the coach can't put him in if he doesn't have his helmet. And you got other guys there. And, the whole he's trying to build up calluses. Well, you don't build up callus in one workout in one day. It's over time. And in a game that left you with very little to complain about, I even thought maybe a Sam Darnold late fourth quarter appearance might have been in order. That's how lopsided that game was at the end of it. We're talking about outstanding players. We're thrilled to have you here on 49ers Wake Up. Damon Bruce, Larry Krueger, brought to you by Palmetto Superfoods. We will be telling you all season long about Açaí bowls and how delicious they are and how good they are for you. But, Larry, when you and I were eating these on Saturday, trying them for the first time, you said it perfectly. He said, we don't need to sell these things. They officially sell themselves. All you need to do is try one and you'll be convinced.